where we are, and that is what we see for most of them. But then those that are run by individuals becomes even difficult now for them to continue running the business because they do not have the purchasing power. Mr. Gillis-Harry, thank you very much. If you can hear us, Mr. Billy?
I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, so let's just go over it again because we had slight issues with the output, so it wasn't very clear. So the listener can get a solid idea of what the conversation is built on. I would start with the first question I asked you earlier. What could be the reason for why filling stations are shutting down? It's now becoming a thing here in Port Harcourt, in Lagos, and other parts of the country. Most filling stations are shutting down.
Well, I will repeat myself. I said, first of all, when the subsidy regime removal set in, commuters and end users were all complaining, oh, it's 590 naira, 600 and something naira, and scratching their pocket, it's affecting the economy. And we did sympathize with our patrons, our clients. But we, as retailers, were the ones that were hit even the most high because before the subsidy removal, we were buying products for about 7.something million. That same product, the moment the subsidy was removed, jumped to become almost 25 million per tanker, 45,000 liters. So that is not a very easy call for so many retail outlets owners. So if their purchasing power is eroded, that obviously will affect services. And I think that is what the situation is right now.
What is
amongst other troubling factors that we're all trying to work together to tackle.
Beyond the financial power, what other factors could be behind why filling stations are shutting down at the rate that they are, which is quite alarming?
Well, ordinarily, Petrol PMS should have been imported by our members and even members of other sister stations such as Batman and Bowman and even Ipman. To conclude a cargo of product, you will need anything between 20 to 30 million US dollars. And you need to get this all set out and make sure funding arrangements are done and all of that. So if we did not have access to forex to guarantee our imports, that will not happen. So that is also a challenge because we are not able to bring additional cargo to support NNPC's import of humans. So that is also a challenge. I think those are the two reasons.
So what about the licenses that were given? And it's also confusing for many people because we know the NNPC is no longer
confusing.
That's what we need to explain because the NNPC is now a public company, which means it should not have the sole ability to dictate what happened within the system. And then there were even talks about licenses issued to private individuals to be able to import the product. So where are we with those licenses, and how come the NNPC still has so much influence on the sector, even though it's now supposed to be operating on a private basis?
NNPC is a private company that has all the oil and gas assets of our Commonwealth as Nigerians backing that company. So it's not just your ordinary run-of-the-mill company that's going to be stressing to raise 10, 20, 30, 40 million dollars to bring in a cargo. The other licensee, we are hoping to be able to make imports, sourcing for funds from different methods, hoping to make profit and pay the cost of loan. If we are going to bring in products and landing cost shoots above 600 naira, and we cannot sell our products above 600 naira, that already is a no deal, because nobody is going to be importing petroleum products and know that it's always going to get to a loss. So no, that company will have already signed a death warrant for itself and its promoters. So nobody is going to be investing to buy to import petroleum products that forex is difficult to get, and if you landed the product at a certain price that's quite astronomical, you cannot sell it at that price or even make any profit out of it. So that is a fundamental reason why those other licensees are not able to even embark on the import journey of PMS.
So as it stands now, we still have the NNPC as the major importer of the product because of these financial implications that you've just stated as well.
Yes, because NNPC can raise that money that any one of my members will be struggling for a year to get, and the NNPC can just, with a sweep of the hand, get that size of money to pay for cargo or to work out their swap arrangement.
So then
that is where we are.
The interest for we need to get licenses so we can also source this product ourselves was made by members of PETROAN, amongst other stakeholders in the industry. But if you're quite aware that it would be difficult to meet the financial obligation, why then was the call being made? Or did something change in between?
The call was made with the expectation that the regulated downstream petroleum market would allow market forces to determine price, to determine supply, to determine demand. But that is not the case today. Because there's a price cap on PMS that cannot be sold. So
put there by who?
NNPC is selling today to everybody, to ensure that there is energy security that's running, which means there must be additional effort that's been made to ensure that the bleeding, pipelines or the bleeding veins.
Trader, are you ready for the flight? Yeah. Maximize your gains day or night. The platform, HFM is the name. Trading with us is a brand new game. Come on, feel alone. Execution slow. Switch to HFM. Watch your success grow. Higher leverage, tighter spreads and swap free. Got your back in this financial fight. Trade forex, commodities, indices, shares and more. Just come and see. HFM on
the ads. Commercials that we took. So yeah, it's a sign that it's going to be a great show. We also had issues with the audio earlier on, but I think that's now fixed. So I'm sure you can hear us very well from wherever you are. Again, we apologize. My guest is still very much with us, the national president of PETROAN, and Mr. Billy Gillis-Harry, speaking with us on our phone this morning. You've heard his opinion on the reason why we see some filling stations shutting down in Port Harcourt and other states in the country, and also, importantly, the difficulty in importing petrol, which I think we are going to discuss more on. Mr. Harry, thank you for staying with us.
Thank you for having me back.
Before the commercials, we were talking about, you were trying to explain to us, when I asked if the financial implication would have been a problem, how come the demand was made for let us import? And now, okay, licenses are there and we're hearing the story of it's difficult to do it. Unlike the NNPC who has the means to get that done, the private individuals will find it very difficult. And you talked about issues that with regards to a cap on the price of petrol and how it should be sold. So market forces are not operating as we were told market forces would. Can you tell us more on that?
Well, as it is today, we are not able to engage in importing petroleum products into the country for those two reasons that I said. We have difficulty accessing for it, and also we will have issues on importing products that may, lift the lead, of the current price of 617, 650 bandwidth that is being sold. So if you brought a product, assuming you brought it at even 690, that is quite a colossal loss, because if you multiply 40 naira by 25 million liters, you can imagine that how much that is. That is 40 million times 25. So that's quite a huge sum of money that is already going to be written off as a loss. So such an adventure cannot be undertaken by any well-meaning enterprise that is set out to give service or to sell products that should be able to make some profit for continuity.
And enlighten us, Mr. Harry. So with what you've said, who puts the cap on how much it is that a liter of petrol can be sold at maximum? Because many would think that you would sell as a businessman based on how you buy. But if that is not the case, who then is putting the cap, especially when we are hearing that the NNPC is no longer a government-run firm?
Well, there are some things that you can say because it's assumed to be so, but that's not the reality. NNPC is still managing the resources of the Commonwealth of Nigeria. The oil and gas aspect of Nigeria is managed by NNPC. NNPC still gets some of its critical board service appointments from the federal government of Nigeria. So how do you differentiate that from a company such as Jennifer and Bill that will call the board meeting and only the registered directors will sit and we can take our decision? So yes, it's a limited liability company, but it's not the same. So that explanation needs to be known by Nigeria, that NNPC is a super company, and we have to give them, their credit for what they do well, and also request that they do better for what they don't do well. So NNPC can somehow cushion that, and we've heard Mr. Gillis-Harry state that there is no subsidy paid. So that means NNPC has some method of absorbing the shock.
Which is what I
And
was
there's
about to
quite
ask next.
A lot of ways to do that.
This is what I'm about to ask next. If, from what you have said, it simply means nobody goes into business to lose. And if there's a certain cap, an invisible cap on the price when you buy that you should sell, who covers the excesses? Because there are the rumors that subsidy or some sort of government intervention is in play. Let's not call it subsidy. Let's say some sort of government intervention. Since the NNPC and the government keeps saying subsidy hasn't returned, is this the case? How does this work? If I own a company and I import the product at say $6.90, like you said, I bought at around $6.90 for a liter. That's how I got the product into the country. And then somebody is saying I have to sell at $6.20, and then you have people who are really selling at $6.20, because we have some people who are selling at $6.20, $6.70, $6.50, some people $700. But those people who are selling at this $6.20, $6.30 and must have gotten above that price, who then is offsetting the excess, which would have been a loss on their part?
Well, the dynamics of governance is a very complex game, because the government will have socioeconomic reasons for some expenses. They will have different kinds of reasons for how the management of the country is being run. So as far as I know, NNPC, that is now the sole source of PMS, as we all know, must have a way of cushioning that. And if they have insisted that subsidy is not being paid, then there must be some mechanism by which that bleeding is being taken care of, which completely I am not able to address, because I do not work for NNPC. And I do not know the dynamics of how their financial transactions are being managed. But as far as I'm concerned, as a businessman, as a patriotic Nigerian, and even as a statesman, I will say that it is better for NNPC to stay afloat and tell the world exactly what's going on. So they don't run under. Because like I've just done a simple math for you. If I lose 40 naira only for 1 million liters, that's 40 million naira. And then if I lose that for 100 million liters, which will be about 4 cargoes, you can imagine how much money that's just going to go, under. And that is as little as that, which we are not even certain, because right now we don't know what the landing cost is. Nobody is sharing those information with us. We could have known that if we are importing, because if we have paid for one cargo and the cargo lands, then we'll be able to know this cargo landed in our depot, and ex-depot price will be so much because it landed at 790 naira, and therefore ex-depot will work out a price metrics that will be able to guarantee some level of profit, and then we can then sell that the retailers will take and then add their own profit margin to take to the retail outlets.
All right.
So right now, Petrol as it is cannot say this is the landing price, because we are not importing. And NNPC is not obligated to tell us the business dynamics.
Oh, and this would be because it would say it's a private entity, so it shouldn't be telling how it runs its activities. And isn't that where we now have some sort of conundrum? Wouldn't that be where we have this conundrum? Because we would say that the NNPC, you've told us that, well, it's a private company managing the resources of the commonwealth of the people, more than any other individual is, with, of course, influence of the government at some level if the commonwealth is what it manages. And then we cannot still know exactly how it runs, what it runs, because it's a private company at the same time. If this is the case, for members of PETROAN, how would you then say you get products? For the few filling stations who still sell, where do they get the product from? If the NNPC still remains the sole importer of this product. In reality.
We get our product from NNPC.
And how much do they sell to you?
We depend on the supply structure of NNPC. And since NNPC can cushion the cost one way or the other, we're able to do transactions.
So,
but you can see that there is a flaw in the supply process. Demand and supply will not actually play the dictates of how prices are set. So that's what it is.
All right, there's something we need to explain, Mr. Harry. You've said you get from the NNPC, and then the NNPC has a way of cushioning the effect. What do you mean by that? The price, rather. What do you mean? How much do they sell to members of PETROAN or filling station owners?
If for any reason they are not.
Hello.
If for any reason they are not, they are not disclosing what their landing cost is, and yet we can buy product from them at what the example price dictates.
Which is how much?
And we can still sell. Example price will not. Example price will not be equal to the pump price.
Let me give an instance, Mr. Harry. Sorry to interrupt you. We have some messages here so we can better understand this. Benjamin Asitonka sent a message on Facebook. He says he bought for 610 naira yesterday. Another person from HCA says they bought for 610 naira as well. If we look, we'll still find some more people. Most of the people here are saying they bought for 610 naira a liter of petrol. Now, my question would be, if they are buying for 610 naira, how much then would we say that the filling station they bought the product from the NNPC? That's where. How much did they buy from the NNPC? And if you are hinting that there could be some sort of way the NNPC cushions the price, how much would it originally have been if NNPC hasn't done that?
Well, again, it's difficult for me to say this is how much it is because I don't have any insight into the full landing price or the price dynamics of how NNPC operates or how their imports are done. So suffice it to say that we certainly buy our product below 610. We buy it sometimes I think will be a margin of about between 7 and 10 naira difference. So when we pay for our logistics and all of that and land at the station, then that price metrics can play. But the same product that's been bought at 610 in the chain, like we have just said, in some other parts of Nigeria will be selling probably for about 620, 650. So that is also dependent on the logistic cost. You can see our routes are so terrifying that product supply from the south to the north itself is being challenged, and you heard an NPC complain about that. Well, at some point, Petrol will address those issues on a national on a national platform because we need to get our roads fixed. Those are also part of the challenges that we'll be having across the other part of Nigeria. In the south today, we are not experiencing queue yet. It's just that most stations are not able to keep their stations wet because of price cost issues. But other than that, we are still keeping the economy rolling with NNPC's ability to provide products within that price confine.
All right. The fact that the NNPC seem to be the center of all of this, with the supply of the product and then the managing of the price and all of that, is that the reason why we see most filling stations now carrying the NNPC logo, I would say, some sort of annex, or can you explain to us, because we see many of the filling stations who were privately owned by different companies, all now, some people say it's some sort of subsidiary or it's some sort of partnership. Is that why we're seeing that happen now, where most of the filling stations...
Well, that is exactly the case. NNPC also negotiates with retail outlet owners to form part of the chain to widen their distribution network. So any company that is qualified and have all the necessary documentations can apply to NNPC to be branded NNPC retail.
Then how is that an open market? Isn't that killing the competition? Because that would mean everybody, the NNPC controls everything now, and then you can't have other private businessmen venture into that sector.
Well, as it is today, Total has the same arrangement. Adover has the same arrangement. Other brands, Rain Oil also have the same those arrangements. So it depends on the business savviness and the convenience with which retailing can be handled. And if branding to a particular brand helps to keep the station wet and the overheads of the station being paid to keep it alive, that would be better.
So
I don't see it as a killing competition. I just see it as a brand acquisition.
So all of these companies you mentioned, Total, Rain Oil, the rest of them, are they importing like the NNPC is?
Well, they are also dependent. They are all supposed to be imported, but they are dependent on NNPC stock. So we're all on the same level. But of course, some marketers have developed relationship with NNPC to become credit marketers, in which case they buy then they pay later. So there are different mechanics on how this business is transacted.
Okay.
And so NNPC will be doing the best it can, to my knowledge, to keep petroleum products coming in, and that's where we are.
All right. We'll take some messages and then we'll open the phone lines as well. Let's take a few questions and contributions from our listener. 0817-923-0003. 0817-923-0003. Then you can also call 0817-923-0007. And you've been listening to the conversation with my guest, the National President of PETROAN. And you've heard all he has said with the pricing, sourcing of the product, why filling stations are closing down, the reality of the privatization of the NNPC, and what it is on paper and what it is in reality. The reason why you see the next filling station to you now having NNPC name and you knew it to be something else before. So all of these you've heard. Most importantly, we need to also hear from you the state of the filling stations around you. How many of them have closed? How many of them are operational? How much are you getting a litre of the product? We've had some people who have already said 610 naira. A message here says, good morning. Kindly ask your guest why Bovas sells at about 600 while others sell for 700 naira plus. And where do Bovas get their petrol if they are selling for 700? Eddie from Rumudara. I think that's also a great question. I will get to my guest in a matter of moments to respond to that. But let's hear from Robin in a chair, and then we'll go to Muriel in Okrika. Robin, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
All right, go ahead.
Yes, greeting to your guest. But Andrew, I must be frank to you. The more you try to ask your guest question, the more he explains, the more confused I become. You try asking him clearly, how much do they buy the fuel from NNPC? I don't know whether I not hear him well. But I think he's unable to mention YZ. For me, the only person who can talk to Nigeria is Gillis-Harry, the man who is running the Nigerian national company as a personal enterprise. He has the duty, because there are questions you have asked Gillis-Harry. He is telling you that he does not know the workings of the financial transaction between NNPC. What are we listening? Police station shutting down. People are selling anyhow. 600 and something naira. You see, let me tell Nigerians, including our guests and you, that the corruption that goes on in Tower House has not been dealt with. And since President Senator Ahmed Bola Tinubu came in, he has turned a black eye on NNPC. Nothing, no question has been asked. He has almost reduced everywhere, but NNPC is lying there. People were buying fuel at how much? Under 4 months, we are going for 600 and something. I tell Nigerians, we are going to buy fuel for 1,000 per liter. Let's continue to keep quiet and clap hands because we belong to political parties. We should not ask questions. And when we ask questions, they say we are the problem, not the government is the problem. How can a government run a company privately, that a company that is owned by me and you? They are refusing to tell us the truth, what is going on there.
All right, thank you.
Morning.
Let's go to Muriel in Okrika. Muriel, good morning to you.
Yeah, Etienne, good morning.
Yes, go ahead.
Muriel, the Africa woman. You see, Etienne, when you ask your guest the question, I now realize that the reason why petrol stations are shutting down is because, one, the inability to access forests. Now, you see, Etienne, Dangote has no problem accessing forests. Yeah, you will not hear Dangote complain of forex. CBN is making sure that Dangote does not lack forex, and yet our independent marketers who are good at Dangote, who are Nigerians, we are all Nigerians. Yeah, we all have the right to access forex, but Dangote has no problem accessing it. And the second factor is that their landing cost is higher than selling price. So if landing cost is higher than selling price, that means automatically they'll be running at a loss. Now, early last month, federal government told us that they are intervening. They are doing some sort of intervention to ensure that the selling price of petroleum is still affordable. At least you can still afford it below or up to 600. NNPC. There is no more NNPC. What we have is NNPCL, which is a private entity as good as every independent marketer. So why is the federal government intervening for NNPCL, who is a private entity, and yet they are not doing the same for our brothers who are also independent marketers? Are they not the same, Efiemi? And now NNPCL still has the right, Efiemi, to put a price tag on the petroleum products. Who gives them that right? Are they federal government? Are they federal and private entity? That is my worry, Efiemi. That price tag, that the NNPCL still has the right to put an embargo on price tag. That is my problem.
All right.
Is this a federal entity? So these are the issues they're feeling.
All right.
So who can solve these issues for us? And the petroleum minister, who is the president, is not coming out to clarify the air. Our brothers and sisters who are in this petroleum business are just left hanging on the air at the mercy of NNPCL, who is a private entity as well.
Let's go to Christian in Aouda before we wrap up. Christian, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Singh.
Welcome.
Please, ask your guest the price they have to repair our refinery. Buying like this, buying from importing from here is not our problem. Asking the plant they have to repair for the repair of our refinery in Nigeria here. Asking for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Harry, I'm sure you heard some of the questions and issues raised. We have less than 3 minutes, so if we can get your response.
I have heard all of the questions, and I quite understand it, and I sympathize with the inputs that all of the three of them have made. It is very correct. The gentleman should not be confused about the prices to buy from example NNPC is fixed, and if it's there, I'm on the.
How much is that fixed price? I think that's what he wants to know.
I will not. It is. I think it should be about. It should be about 550 something naira. But I'm careful not to be specific, just so that I don't make any error. So that the example price should be about 500 something naira per liter. And
then you do not know the landing cost the NNPC got the product from.
That's what I'm saying. Then you have to now work out your logistics. You have to work out so many different inputs. And that is why the price is different from one station to the other. because the cost of landing to that retail outlet may be much higher than the other one that they're talking about. So, of course, those prices, and so long as they don't shoot above what has been kept as a ceiling, they can always...
Well, people in Bonny said they are buying for about 1,000 naira a litre.
In Bonny?
Yes. There's a message here, just came in from Papilo from Bonny Island. Said they're buying for as much as 1,000 naira per litre in Bonny Island.
Well, so you can see there is no refined depot to sell to Bonny. So they're going to buy product, and then if the bridge is open, that will be the first time that the petrol tanker can take products from any of the depots and then roll into Bonny. So hopefully that will, when the bridge is fully open and working, I'm sure that also will impact on the price and bring it down, a bit. But as of today, anybody that is taking product there already knows the risk that it's going to take, and the cost is of course high to land product in Bonny.
Right, Mr.
So
Harry.
that is what it is.
All
Yeah,
right.
but let me quickly answer. As PETROAN, we have requested the government to have a round table with us.
We have to go. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time now.
Nigeria Info will be right back. Niger Delta Cultural Music Festival, Nikon Fest 2020.